Have you ever prayed for something so desperately only to be met with silence? Have you ever felt your faith crumble because it seemed like heaven wasn't listening? This is a story about a prayer that God answered, just not in the way anyone expected. Sarah prayed every single night for her brother, Daniel. He had fallen into a dark place, lost to drugs, without a job, and eventually vanished onto the streets. Each evening, she would light a candle, its small flame a symbol of her flickering hope, and whisper the same prayer, "Lord, please save him. Please, just bring him home." But days turned into weeks, and weeks turned into months. The silence from heaven was deafening. There was no word from Daniel, no sign that he was okay. Her once strong faith began to wither like a plant without water. One night, with tears streaming down her face, she whispered into the darkness, "If God really hears prayers, why won't he hear mine?" It was a question born of pure anguish, a cry from a heart on the verge of breaking. Late one stormy night, as Sarah was driving home, the rain was coming down in sheets, blurring the world outside her car. Through the deluge, she saw a lone figure on the side of the road. He was drenched, trembling, and waving weakly for help. Every instinct told her to keep driving, to stay safe, but a gentle, insistent feeling, a nudge from somewhere deep inside, urged her to stop. She pulled over. The man climbed into the passenger seat, water dripping from his clothes onto the floor mat. He was shivering, but his voice was soft when he spoke. "Thank you," he said, his gratitude palpable. Nobody else stopped. They drove on in a comfortable silence, the rhythmic swish of the windshield wipers the only sound. After a few minutes, he turned to her, his eyes surprisingly clear. "Do you believe God answers prayers?" he asked. The question hit Sarah like a physical blow. She froze, her hands tightening on the steering wheel. "I used to," she murmured, the words barely audible. The man offered a faint, gentle smile. "Maybe he already has," he said softly, "just not in the way you expected." Confused and intrigued, Sarah turned her head to get a better look at him. But when she did, the passenger seat was empty. The door was still locked from the inside. There was no trace of him. Her heart hammered against her ribs. Terrified and trembling, she slammed on the brakes and pulled over to the side of the road, her mind racing to make sense of what just happened. She looked over at the empty passenger seat. Lying there was a small, crumpled piece of paper. It was wet from the rain, but the ink was still legible. Her hands shook as she picked it up and read the words, "Tell Sarah I'm home now. God answered, Daniel." The next morning, her world shifted forever. A phone call came from the police. They had found her brother's body the night before. He was at peace, they said. He was clean, and clutched in his hand was a small Bible. Sarah later went to see it, and inside the cover, in her brother's familiar handwriting, were the words, "God didn't forget me. I'm finally free." In that moment, everything became clear. Sarah realized that God had heard her prayer. He had answered it all along. It wasn't the answer she had begged for, the one where Daniel would walk back through her front door, whole and healed. But it was the answer heaven knew was best. He had brought Daniel home. He had saved him. Sometimes the miracle isn't a life restored on earth, but a soul redeemed for eternity. Sometimes the greatest healing is the one we cannot see. Thank you for watching. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe for more content that explores faith and hope in unexpected ways. We'll see you in the next video.